Hi there. So we arrived back home last night from our very first silent retreat.
We did.
So we were there from Thursday to Sunday, and we had 2 full days of silence and some time for sharing during the retreat time with each other what had happened. And we just thought it would be really interesting to share with you a little bit about what we got out of those few days. So Beck, what was your biggest takeaway, do you think, from the silent retreat?
Well, I've written a little bit of a blog, which I think will be going out in the newsletter, so some of this might be a little bit of a repeat. But it was a really, really interesting experience for me. I definitely went into it with expectations about, what might come up for me. I absolutely expected for my head to be really busy and really kind of screaming to get out, out of my own head and my own space. But what actually happened really nicely was that I had 2 days of a really, really nice quiet space. There were still, thoughts going through my head as they do. I was still alive, so there were still thoughts. But what I really noticed with that was that without my kind of getting in and meddling and needing to share them and ask you if I'm okay and point out to Lucy what I've seen here and check with Ju if I'm cooking the eggs right and all that kind of stuff that we do out loud. Without that, the thoughts that were kind of coming into my head were just kind of there, and then they left, and then the next thought came, and then it left. And it was very much like, it just reminded me of a train station. Like if you imagine nobody gets on the train just comes in, goes, comes in, goes. But if you've got lots of people on the platform kind of getting involved with the train, it really hangs around for ages, and there's a delay before it can leave, and it's late to the next day. And it really kind of reminded me of that whole, if you've ever stood at a train station where a train's just passing through, it's a way nicer flow of movement with the train. And that was really how it went for me with my thoughts. They just flowed, and I was just kind of seeing them come and go, and there was nowhere near as much interaction around what was coming and going. So I think that was probably one of the biggest things for me, was just the quietness of that. How about you? What kind of came up for you around the silence?
Really, I suppose, adding to that, the one thing that really surprised me was how quiet my mind was. That definitely, I wasn't expecting my mind to be as quiet as it was. And then, the amount of talking that we do that is so unnecessary. I expect, we are talkers, we do talk a lot. And that kind of whole thing, the amount of things we say out loud that just occurred to me, while we were sitting, just like you say, the idle chit-chat, that definitely engages and revs up more. I really noticed that you just didn't kind of get to make passing comments on all sorts of everything. And that definitely meant my mind was a lot quieter. And also seeing some areas like where I still have a tendency to people please, and being aware that because I couldn't say anything to people, you're out of their business, you're in your own business, and you're not in other people's business. And, you can't offer to help or say it because you're not sharing in that way. And yet the beautiful feeling, it was surprising how that was enough to just sit there just in a feeling of love with somebody. And see that, when we shared towards the end, it was really interesting to see what was coming up for people. And yet they'd found their own way through that. And if that had been mentioned out loud, I'm guessing we would have all got in there with the best of intentions, with ways, even though we kind of say we don't offer advice and we don't fix, it really surprised me how much when we don't talk, that people just work these things out for themselves. And how healthy that actually is. Yeah.
And you can see as well, I really noticed there was someone on the last day that kind of came with a question. What they actually started by saying was that they'd got more questions than answers over the weekend. And then they posed a particular question, and before they'd finished talking, they'd answered their own question. Yeah. And what I really saw in that, because we all sat and just let them talk, because
we were still in that quiet space of
being silent. So we were allowing them the space to kind of talk and explore. They landed up with their own answer, and what I really saw was their own answer meant way more to them than anything we could have said. You know, we could have come out with the most prolific and profound comments, which would have meant nothing to them, but their answer to their question really, I really watched that person settle into that answer.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that realisation from her own
wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It was her wisdom really shining through when other people weren't kind of trying to get involved and, you know, with good intentions, provide the answer for her. It meant way more to her, I think. And I think that really came through for us as well over the weekend.
It was a very, very interesting, a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Very quiet, special. Very gentle, very, very special. So that brings us to our next retreat is going to be in February. This one will be a normal, if that's the right word, an ordinary, a talking retreat. This one isn't going to be a silent retreat. That was just something we really wanted to do, so we've done it. So our next retreat will be back to the usual sharing, but I do think we may factor in a little bit of quiet time because I absolutely saw the real power of that. So the dates for that are, Beck?
15th to the 18th
usually.
Of February. It's the Friday to the Monday, and this is our youth hostel one. So this is the one where it feels like, for me anyway, being a kid again, because you all kind of bunk down in dormitory rooms together, and there's lots of kind of fun. Everyone mucks in.
Yeah, it's really good fun.
But
beautiful place.
Yeah, an absolutely beautiful setting. A really nice, big, spacious hostel that we all kind of get together and just have a fab time, and the space is left on that one. So if you're kind of interested, do get in touch.
Drop us a line, email us, and get in touch, and we can give you more details about that. Yeah. So thank you very much for listening to our musings about the silent retreat.
Yes.
Take care, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye for now.